It all starts back in the Japanese Empire in a province called Ishikawa. The ruler of this province was a guy named Daigo. Daigo was going through it because back then, the whole era was plagued by wars, rivalries, and endless conflicts. One day he went to a temple called the Hall of Hell, killed the priest who was there, and decided to cut a deal with 12 demons. He talked to them and said, "I'm here to make a deal with you guys. You help me rule and make all my dreams come true, and in return you can take anything that belongs to me." And just like that, the deal between him and the demons was sealed. Right then, something like a bolt of lightning struck. At that exact moment, Daigo's wife was in labor. While she was giving birth, that lightning struck again and she ended up delivering a baby boy. But the baby had no limbs, no skin, and no facial features at all. Daigo immediately remembered his deal with the demons, and it clicked in his head. Yep, the demons definitely took everything from my son to seal the deal. Right after that, he felt no pity, called a maid and told her, "Take this kid and throw him in the river." The maid actually took the baby, placed him in a boat on the river, and sent him floating away. But since that era was crawling with monsters and demons, a monster jumped out at her and killed her. Right then, an old blind man named Baiwamaru showed up and killed the monster. Even though Baiwamaru was blind, he could sense the boat floating down the river with the baby inside. The boat kept drifting down the river and nobody found the kid for a while, until one day the boat washed up by a shore. The baby was somehow still alive. A doctor named Jukai, who made prosthetic limbs for people wounded in the wars, found him. Jukai took the boy in to live with him, fitted him with prosthetic limbs and a mask, and named him Haikimaru. He trained him how to fight using those prosthetics, which he actually turned into hidden swords. With everyday training, Haikimaru kept getting stronger and stronger, but he couldn't hear, see, or speak because he lacked all those limbs and senses. The only thing he could do was see the color of a person's soul, which told him whether someone was good or evil. If the color was white, the person was good. If it was red, they were evil. Years went by and Haikimaru just kept getting stronger. Meanwhile, his dad Daigo and his mom had another son named Tahimaru, and obviously Haikimaru knew absolutely nothing about his parents. They thought he was dead. More years passed and Haikimaru grew up into a beast with his prosthetics. He still couldn't hear, speak, or see, but he was incredibly strong, could sense everything around him, and was killing tons of monsters. One day, Haikimaru got into a fight with a demon and managed to wipe him out. Right after that, his right leg grew back and he discarded the prosthetic leg. He realized that every time he killed a demon, he would win back one of his missing senses or body parts. By the time Haikimaru turned 16, Jukai decided it was time to let him strike out on his own and leave, so he could hunt down more demons, get his limbs and senses back, and finally become a normal human being. But what Haikimaru didn't know was that every time he killed a demon, a disaster would hit his dad Daigo's land. On top of that, the demon statues inside the Hall of Hell would crack and break whenever a demon died. Haikimaru went on his journey hunting for demons. On his way, he passed by a village where a little kid named Dororo lived. Dororo was an orphan, but he was sharp as a tack and could hustle or scam anyone. One day, 3 guys were chasing Dororo after he stole from them. When they caught up to him, Haikimaru was just standing there. Dororo thought Haikimaru was there to defend him, but Haikimaru couldn't see or hear a thing. The 3 guys were about to beat Dororo to death when suddenly, a demon popped out, attacked them, and killed them. The demon was about to kill Dororo too, but Haikimaru saw the demon's soul, knew exactly what it was, and jumped into a fight with it. During the brawl, a bridge collapsed on top of them, and Haikimaru killed the demon. The impact knocked off the mask he was wearing, and right then, real skin grew over his face, giving him a human face. Dororo helped him out, gathered his scattered prosthetic limbs that had fallen off, and decided to tag along with him from then on. Dororo kept talking to him, but Haikimaru still couldn't hear or see him. He only let him follow along because he could see Dororo's kind soul, glowing in pure white. The 2 of them stayed together. That night, a massive disaster hit Daigo's land right after Haikimaru killed that bridge demon. A neighboring clan decided to betray Daigo and declare war on him, and that was the Sakai clan. Later on, Haikimaru and Dororo went to a wealthy village. Dororo hyped him up to the villagers, saying, "This guy with me can take down any monster or demon. Let us stay here with you, feed us, and we'll protect you." So they stayed in the village. The villagers took them to meet the village chief, a woman named Bandai. But the second they walked in, Haikimaru snapped and tried to attack her. The villagers immediately grabbed him and locked both him and Dororo up in a warehouse. Turns out Baiwamaru was locked up in that same warehouse too. When Baiwamaru saw Haikimaru, it clicked in his head. Wait, this is that same baby from the river years ago. Baiwamaru told Dororo, "Look, I'm blind, but I can see the color of souls, and this guy with you can see soul colors just like me." Suddenly, Haikimaru sensed an evil spirit nearby. He escaped the warehouse through a ventilation pipe and rushed straight to Bandai, the village chief. And yet, Bandai was actually the demon itself, shape-shifted into a human woman. The demon ambushed Haikimaru and managed to wound him a few times, but Haikimaru locked into the fight and completely wrecked it. Baiwamaru then showed up and said, I knew Bandai was a monster all along. The villagers made a deal with the demon. They promised to kidnap travelers passing by the road for it to eat just so it wouldn't kill them. While Haikimaru was finishing off the demon said to him, all of this is happening because I didn't kill you back then. You're definitely here to take back what's yours. Haikimaru lunged at it and finished it off. After the demon died, Haikimaru suddenly got his sense of pain back. As he was walking with Dororo and Baiwamaru, he wrote his name on the ground for them. Dororo realized his name was Haikimaru, and since he felt like they were brothers now, he started calling him Big Bro. They continued their journey, and by nightfall they reached another village and the three of them hung out together. Baiwamaru sat down and told Dororo the whole backstory of Haikimaru's journey. Meanwhile, Haikimaru got up, walked closer to the fire, and accidentally burned himself. He felt it hurt, and for the very first time in his life, he understood what physical pain actually meant. The next morning, Baiwamaru left them and went his own way. Dororo woke up and started talking to a local village girl named Asashi. She told him, my brother has been missing for 5 years because of the war. At that moment, Haikimaru was standing outside in the pouring rain. Suddenly, Asashi's brother, a guy named Tanasuke, showed up out of nowhere and started slaughtering the villagers. Haikimaru looked at him and saw that his soul was white, but the sword he was holding was glowing bright red. Tanasuke yelled at them, this sword I have is a demon sword. This blade can brainwash and control anyone who wields it. Haikimaru and Tanasuke clashed in a brutal fight. Tanasuke managed to slash Haikimaru across the face and struck his left prosthetic leg, sending it flying. But Haikimaru didn't back down. He lunged at him again, tackled him to the ground, and Dororo ran over to fetch his missing leg. So inside that prosthetic leg was actually the demon sword. The second Tanasuke grabbed his blade, it took total control over him again. He didn't even care about Dororo anymore and just walked away. Dororo took Haikimaru's prosthetic leg, and right then, Asashi showed up too, took her brother, and brought him back to patch him up. That night, Tanasuke sat there flashing back to the very first time he ever picked up that demon sword. He had completely snapped and butchered his own comrades and his commander in the war. He thought to himself, I need to get that sword back. So he went out hunting for it. Meanwhile, Dororo was still holding the sword and had no control over it at all. Haikimaru locked eyes on the sword's glowing red soul, lunged at Dororo, and managed to smack the blade out of his hands. Haikimaru kicked it aside, but right then, Tanasuke burst in, snatched the sword, and went completely berserk on Haikimaru. They traded blows until Haikimaru gained the upper hand, killed Tanasuke, and shattered the demon's sword into pieces. The moment the sword broke, Haikimaru's prosthetic ear fell right off, and a real human ear grew in its place. The very first thing he heard was Asashi sobbing over her dead brother. But the second that demon's sword was destroyed, a curse hit Daigo's land. All the rain completely stopped, leaving the land bone dry. Haikimaru and Dororo kept moving, but Haikimaru couldn't handle the sensory overload. Now that he could suddenly hear, every little noise around him was driving him crazy. Dororo had to wrap a cloth around Haikimaru's ears just to muffle the sound, but he was still totally overwhelmed. Because of that noise distraction, when a flying monster ambushed them, Haikimaru couldn't fight back at all. Luckily, Baiwamaru showed up out of nowhere and took the monster down himself. Haikimaru just stood there, clutching his ears in agony. The next day, Haikimaru heard a girl named Mio singing. Her voice was so beautiful it actually calmed him down, so he walked toward her, but he was so exhausted from the pain that he collapsed. Mio took Haikimaru, Dororo, and Baiwamaru back to an abandoned temple where she was living. She introduced them to a bunch of orphan kids from the war and her little brother, Take. She explained, we're all just trying to survive together here. Baiwamaru chimed in and warned them, a brand new war is about to pop off between Lord Sakai and Lord Daigo. I'm gonna scout around and find a safe spot for us far away from the fighting. So Baiwamaru took off. While they waited, Haikimaru kept making Mio sing for him because he was completely obsessed with her voice. It was the first sound he ever actually liked. A bit later, Baiwamaru came back and said, I found a safe haven for us, but there's a catch. A powerful demon with a massive mouth is lurking nearby. Haikimaru immediately got up to go hunt it down, and Baiwamaru tagged along. When they reached the demon, the monster started dragging them down into a pit. Haikimaru and Baiwamaru teamed up and managed to wound it, but the demon sliced clean through Haikimaru's right leg, the real one that had grown back earlier. As Haikimaru was writhing in pain, he suddenly regained his actual voice. In return, the demon took off. Back at the temple, Mio had to go to work to make a living for the kids. Turns out her job was selling herself at Daigo's military camp, and at the exact same time, Daigo was rallying his troops to fight the Sakai clan. The drought was still destroying his land. His other son, Tahamaru, wanted in on the action and told Daigo, I want to fight in this war, but Daigo shut him down and said no. Tahamaru was deeply upset. He felt like his parents didn't give a damn about him and were hiding some massive secret. At this point, Tahimaru had no clue his older brother was alive, and Daigo and his wife thought Haikimaru was long dead. Haikimaru was still reeling from his leg injury, but he didn't care. He chopped a piece of wood, strapped it to his body as a makeshift peg leg, and kept going. Before Baiwamaru took off for good, he pulled Dororo aside and said, "I look at Haikimaru's soul, and I see a dark red glow creeping in. I'm terrified that the spirit inside him is turning into a demon." That night, while everyone was fast asleep, Haikimaru snuck out, tracked down the mouth demon, and fought it in a brutal brawl that lasted until morning. When Dororo woke up and noticed Haikimaru was missing, he ran after him. The savage fight between Haikimaru and the demon dragged on until Haikimaru finally decapitated the monster. The second the demon died, Haikimaru's right leg instantly grew back a second time. Over in Daigo's land, clouds gathered and it looked like it was finally about to pour, but because Haikimaru killed the demon, the rain vanished and the drought stayed. Dororo and Haikimaru rushed back to the temple, but when they got there, they found it in ashes. Daigo's soldiers had burned the place to the ground and slaughtered all the orphan kids. Mia was lying there, brutally murdered. One of the soldiers looked at Dororo and said, "We executed them because we caught this girl spying for both our camp and the Sakai camp. We came here to wipe them out." Hearing that Mia was dead made Haikimaru completely lose his mind. He went into a blind rage and slaughtered every single soldier on the spot until only one terrified soldier was left. Haikimaru was devastated over Mio's death, and looking at her body, he screamed out her name, Mio, which was the very first word he ever spoke. After that tragedy, Dororo and Haikimaru hit the road again. Dororo kept trying to crack jokes to make him smile, but Haikimaru was just a shell of himself and wouldn't laugh. Suddenly, a massive spider monster jumped them. They managed to fight it off and escape. This monster was actually a female spirit named Jiragumo. A bit later, they rolled into a new village. The locals warned them, someone is kidnapping people from the village every single day. Dororo thought, it's gotta be that spider monster, we need to hunt it down and kill it. By the next morning, Jiragumo had shifted into a human form, but she was incredibly weak and sick. She desperately needed to absorb human life force to survive. A kind villager named Yajiro crossed paths with her, took her to his house, and fed her. Yajiro had no idea she was a monster. He just treated her with pure kindness. That night, Jiragumo crept up on him to drain his life force, but she stopped herself because she could feel how genuinely good-hearted Yajiro was. She decided to just stay with him. Yajiro noticed she looked really ill and told her, "You look bad. I'm gonna take you out of the village so you can find a proper doctor." While they were sneaking out, they ran straight into Dororo, Haikimaru, and the village guards. Panicking, Jiragumo lunged at two guards, drained their energy, and bolted with Yajiro. Everyone chased after them, and the guards ended up shooting Yajiro with an arrow, wounding him. Seeing him hurt made Jiragumo snap. She transformed back into her giant spider form and trapped the guards in her webs. Haikimaru rushed in and attacked her, but she struck back and screamed, "I won't let Yajiro die." She grabbed him and fled. Haikimaru, who had initially seen her soul as pure evil red, noticed her soul suddenly shift to a pure white because of her love for Yajiro. He realized she wasn't malicious anymore and decided to let her go. The next morning, Haikimaru and Dororo kept walking. Dororo was still trying to get him to talk, and though Haikimaru stayed quiet, he actually smiled for the very first time on their journey. Eventually, they hit a new path and saw a crowd of villagers carrying a bride in a litter. They also ran into a kid named Saru who was wearing an animal fur coat. Saru suddenly started throwing rocks and attacking the people carrying the bride. Dororo grabbed him and asked, "Yo, why are you doing that?" Saru explained, "Look at that black cloud over there. That's the banished cloud, and there's a demon living inside it. Every now and then it comes down to devour people from our village. To keep it happy, the elders sacrifice one of our girls to it. When they do, the cloud vanishes and leaves everyone else alone. That bride they're carrying is my older sister, and they're delivering her to be eaten. That's why I was trying to stop them." Dororo told him, "Don't worry, we're gonna help you save your sister and wreck that demon." Haikimaru and Saru rushed the procession, and Haikimaru knocked out two of the guards. But right then, the massive black cloud swirled down directly over them, and two more guards grabbed Saru's sister. Haikimaru looked up, and the entire sky-consuming cloud was glowing a menacing, evil red. Suddenly, Haikimaru felt completely swamped by the color red. It was everywhere, and because of that dense black fog, he couldn't tell left from right or see a damn thing under the cloud. He completely lost his bearings and couldn't even mount an attack. Out of nowhere, a massive centipede demon burst out of the cloud, snatched Saru's sister, and bolted with her. Dororo was absolutely devastated. But just then, a tiny sliver of sunlight broke through the cloud, and the centipede immediately retreated, causing the cloud to vanish. Dororo put two and two together and told Saru, "Yo, sunlight is that cloud's weakness. We gotta use that against it." The next day, the black cloud rolled back in, and the centipede emerged. Dororo ran to look for a hiding spot while Saru shot a flaming arrow at the monster, but it didn't do a damn thing. Haikimaru still couldn't see the centipede through the thick cloud, so Dororo ran to a high spot and started yelling to guide Haikimaru by sound. Haikimaru locked onto the noise, lunged through the fog, and slashed the centipede right in the eye, dragging it out into the direct sunlight to finish it off. But the damn demon wasn't done. Its tail suddenly grew a brand new head, turning into a second centipede that swallowed Haikimaru whole. Inside the monster's belly, Haikimaru went berserk, sliced it to pieces from the inside out, and destroyed it. The moment it died, his fake nose fell off, and a real human nose grew on his face. They kept moving, but the weather was getting brutal. Dororo caught a massive fever, got completely dizzy, and collapsed. Haikimaru picked him up but had no clue how to help him until a nun crossed their path and took them into her temple. She put cold compresses on Dororo's forehead to break the fever. While Dororo was out cold, he started flashing back to his childhood with his dad, Hibukuro, and his mom, Ajiya. His dad absolutely loathed the samurai. He had formed a notorious gang of bandits that raided villages and slaughtered any samurai they could find. Hibukuro kept rallying people and killing samurai for a long time until one day his right-hand man, Itachi, betrayed him. Itachi told him, "Look, we're done fighting, we're teaming up with the samurai." Itachi set a trap and the samurai ambushed Hibukuro's crew. Hibukuro was shot in the legs with arrows and couldn't walk anymore, but he managed to escape with his wife and little Dororo. From that day on, they were on the run, begging for food just to survive. One day, a samurai spotted Hibukuro and recognized him as the bandit leader. The samurai attacked, and though Hibukuro fought back and killed a bunch of them, one managed to drive a spear straight through him. Hibukuro died right in front of Dororo. After that, Dororo and his mom lived on the streets, starving every single day. Because they had no money or food, his mom would beg the samurai for charity food. Since she didn't even have a bowl, the soldiers would pour boiling hot soup straight into her bare hands so she could carry it to Dororo. She wouldn't eat a single bite herself just to make sure Dororo survived, until she finally starved to death from malnutrition and collapsed in the snow. Back in the present, Dororo finally woke up next to the nun. Once he felt better, he and Haikimaru hit the road again, headed toward a wealthy region because Dororo wanted to hustle some money out of the rich folks. Meanwhile, back at Daigo's palace, a scout brought Daigo some heavy news. "My lord, an old midwife who used to work for you said she remembers a baby with no limbs being sent down the river years ago. Plus, a few days ago, a soldier from a neighboring clan got wrecked by a kid fighting with prosthetic limbs. We're highly suspicious that this kid is that same baby from the river." Daigo was sweating bullets. He wanted to know if his wife had hidden something from him. The drought was still punishing his land, and another neighboring clan, the Sukuro, was mobilizing troops near his borders. Daigo realized the truth. The boy is definitely alive. He's hunting down the demons to get his body back, and every time he kills one, my land pays the price with these disasters. Suddenly, the smoke from the fireplace swirled into the shape of a terrifying demon, warning Daigo. Daigo snapped and ordered his troops to hunt the boy down and kill him. That night, Tahimaru snuck around and interrogated the soldier who had spoken to his dad. He found out Daigo was hunting a 16-year-old kid. Tahimaru confronted his dad and asked, "Who is this kid you're hunting down?" Daigo completely lost his temper and screamed, "Mind your own business." As Tahimaru walked away, a group of villagers from Daigo's territory begged him for help. "My lord, please save us. There's a monster lurking in our lake. It shows up every day and devours people." The monster was a giant, mutated crab demon. Tahimaru rode out with his troops to the lake. The crab demon ambushed them, swallowed one of his soldiers whole, and broke Tahimaru's sword, slicing his face. Tahimaru and his top lieutenants, Hyogo and Mutsu, had to fall back. That night, Tahimaru sat down with them and drew up a tactical plan to kill the beast. Their plan was to build a massive dam to completely drain the lake, forcing the monster onto dry land where it couldn't swim. The next day, they pulled it off. They blocked the water, leaving the crab demon stranded on the mud. Tahimaru and his crew charged in, hacking at it and wounding it heavily. But the monster slammed a massive boulder into the dam, shattering it and causing the water to flood right back into the lake. The monster caught Hyogo and Mutsu off guard and was about to swallow them whole when suddenly, Haikimaru and Dororo arrived at the lake. Haikimaru dove straight into the water, intercepted the demon, and slaughtered it. Tahimaru had no idea who this wild prosthetic-wielding kid was, and Haikimaru had no clue this was his own younger brother. But when Haikimaru looked at Tahimaru, he noticed their souls had a very similar vibe. Dororo stepped up to Tahimaru and demanded, "Yo, we just saved your skins from that monster, so pay up, we want our money." Tahimaru just stared at them, totally stunned. Dororo and Haikimaru crossed into Daigo's main territory and ran into Biwamaru again. Biwamaru told them he was heading to the Hall of Hell because he wanted to uncover the dark secret keeping Daigo's land so prosperous despite the war. But before he left, Biwamaru looked at Haikimaru's soul and noticed it was stained with a deep, bloody red. He warned Dororo, Hikemaru has definitely killed humans. His soul is getting corrupted. As they walked through the villages, they heard locals talking about a massive, heavily guarded wall called the Banished Wall. One of the villagers said, Lord Dago built this wall years ago to protect us from the Sakura clan's invasions, but tons of people died building it, and now monsters and spirits haunt the area. It's definitely cursed by a demon. When Hikemaru and Dororo reached the wall, Hikemaru looked up and saw it glowing a dark, evil red. He knew a powerful demonic spirit was bound to it. Just then, a kid named Sukuroku approached them and pleaded, My village is right on the other side of this wall, but I can't get back home. If anyone tries to cross during the day, the Sakura clan soldiers slaughter them on sight, and if you try at night, the place is crawling with demons. I just want to get back to my family. Dororo looked at him and said, Don't worry, kid, we'll get you across. At the exact same time, Dago received reports from Tahamaru's scouts that a boy with prosthetic swords was roaming his lands. Dago locked in, It's him, I have to kill him myself. His wife, overhearing this, started crying and begged him, We can't hurt him anymore. We threw him away as a baby and now heaven is punishing us. Dago snapped back, I don't care. I won't let anyone destroy the prosperity of my domain. Tahamaru was eavesdropping from the hallway, completely bewildered by what they were talking about. That night, Tahamaru decided to investigate. He found the old, exiled midwife who had delivered Hikemaru. She looked at him and said, The demon child has returned, and she spilled the entire dark backstory to him. Back at the wall, a massive demon manifested in the form of a pack of fiery fox spirits, attacking Hikemaru, Dororo, and Sukuroku. The fox demon kept multiplying, splitting its body to attack from all angles. While Hikemaru was busy fending off the foxes, Sukuroku saw an opening, panicked, and ran past the wall to reach his village. Hikemaru stayed behind, fiercely battling the demon foxes alone. Suddenly, Dago arrived at the scene with a full battalion of soldiers, determined to execute Hikemaru. The fox demon vanished into thin air. Hikemaru stopped and stared directly at Dago. He could sense Dago's soul and realized it had that exact same familial resonance he felt with Tahamaru. Hikemaru muttered, Who are you? Right then, Dago drew his sword, stepped forward, and yelled, You demon child, how the hell are you still alive? Dago ordered his troops to charge. Hikemaru had to swiftly dodge the onslaught of arrows and spears, grabbing Dororo and retreating into the woods to hide. Meanwhile, on the other side of the wall, the Sakura clan soldiers ambushed little Sukuroku. They dragged him away, yelling, Your entire village was wiped out a long time ago, kid. Your family is dead. But while Dororo was hiding and listening to the chaos, he looked through the brush and spotted someone leading the enemy troops. It was Itachi, the man who had betrayed his father. The inmate was wearing a jacket with a weird-looking crest on it. Dororo had seen that exact same logo on a guy who was hanging around Hikemaru earlier. He went up to the man and asked, Yo, what kind of emblem is that? The man looked at him and said, This is the crest of the Sakai clan. Dororo looked over at Sukuroku and whispered, Look, kid, I'm gonna break out of here right now. I'll come back with Hikemaru and we'll get you out, I promise. Dororo found a ventilation opening up above, climbed through, and managed to escape the cell with the help of the other prisoners. Meanwhile, Dago returned home to a total mess. Tahamaru was confronting his mother, demanding answers. How could you guys just throw your own flesh and blood into a river when he was just a newborn baby? Dago stepped in, cold as ice, and said, I had to do it. My deal with the demons had to be finalized so my domain could prosper. I can't just back out now and break that contract. So make a choice, Tahamaru. It's either your brother's life or our lives and the lives of everyone in this province. Right at that tense moment, Hikemaru burst into the palace and faced his family. He heard his mother gasp and whisper, My son. Dago didn't hesitate. He ordered his guards to seize him immediately. But Hikemaru was too fast and managed to slip through their fingers and escape again. He linked back up with Dororo in the woods, and they told each other everything that had gone down. Dororo sighed and said, Damn, so Dago really is your old man. You actually found your family. But right now, we gotta focus and go back to save Sukuroku. By that time, the Sakura clan guards had dragged Sukuroku out, tied him up, and were preparing to execute him along with all the other inmates. But out of nowhere, Dago's army charged in, and a brutal war broke out between the Dago and Sakura forces. Right in the middle of the chaotic bloodbath, that terrifying fox demon from the Banished Wall manifested again, bringing the whole battle to a screeching halt. Hikemaru sprinted onto the battlefield, and Tahamaru stepped up to block his path. Tahamaru drew his sword and yelled, I'm your younger brother, but for our people to survive, we can't let you break the deal with the demons. If you get your body back, our lands will be ruined just like before. That's why I have to kill you right here, right now. The two brothers clashed in a savage duel. Hikemaru swung his blade and slashed Tahamaru clean across the eye. Just then, Haikimaru heard Dororo screaming for help as the fox demon closed in on him. Haikimaru disengaged from his brother and rushed to the wall to slaughter the demon. At that moment, their mother ran out onto the battlefield looking at Haikimaru. She cried out, "Forgive me, I couldn't save you back then and I can't protect you now." In absolute despair, she stabbed herself with a dagger. She was heavily wounded, but she survived. Suddenly, the massive banished wall began to crumble and collapse into piles of rubble. Amidst the debris, Sukeroku managed to break free and reunite with Haikimaru and Dororo. He looked out past the broken wall and heard his family yelling his name. He realized they were actually still alive, and they happily took him back home. That night, Haikimaru was incredibly frustrated. He was obsessed with killing demons to win back his body, and Dororo was right there with him, totally confused. Dororo muttered to himself, "That's weird. Haikimaru killed that massive demon at the wall, so why didn't any part of his body grow back this time?" By morning, the Sakura army retreated from the border, marking the first time in ages that Daigo's land saw a massive downpour of rain. The duo kept moving and eventually stopped at an abandoned house. While Dororo was gathering firewood by a nearby waterfall, he spotted a creepy, unfinished statue with a blank, featureless face. Suddenly, a woman named Akaka appeared out of nowhere. She looked strikingly similar to Haikimaru's mother. She looked at Dororo and said, "This house you guys are staying in actually belonged to a kind old sculptor." Dororo asked her, "Hey, what's up with that faceless statue outside?" Akaka cooked them some food and explained, "An old sculptor in our village carved that statue a long time ago. He spent years trying to give it the perfect face, but he failed and died trying." After eating the food, both Dororo and Haikimaru started feeling incredibly drowsy, their eyes growing heavy. Akaka smirked and said, "I didn't finish the story. After the sculptor died, evil spirits possessed that statue. They crave human souls because they want to steal a perfect face from a living person, and those spirits actually brought the sculptor back to life to fetch humans for them. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I spiked your food with a sleeping drug. I am that sculptor. I can shift my shape and voice, and I did all this to bring you to the statue so the spirits can devour your souls." The sculptor grabbed the unconscious Haikimaru and dragged him toward the statue. A short while later, Dororo snapped out of the drug's effects and ran after them. He found the sculptor and yelled, "Let him go. Haikimaru, you're turning into a monster just like these evil spirits. You need to snap out of it, fight like a normal human, and help us." Hearing Dororo's voice, Haikimaru's consciousness rushed back. Right then, the evil spirits inside the statue turned on the sculptor, slashing and killing him. Haikimaru leaped into action, unsheathed his prosthetic swords, and completely smashed the statue to pieces, destroying the spirits inside. The next day, they continued their journey and crossed paths with Sabame. He had 2 young kids with him. Sabame looked closely at Dororo and noticed something odd. He said, "Kid, you have a map tattooed right on your back." Hearing this, Dororo started flashing back to his childhood. Before his dad died, he had hidden a massive fortune of money he had hoarded from the samurai. To make sure Dororo could find it when he grew up, his dad had inked a secret map. Half of it was tattooed on Dororo's back, and the other half was on his mother's back. The catch was that the ink was invisible. It would only show up on Dororo's skin when his body got intensely warm or exposed to heat. Sabame looked at him and said, "You need to go find that treasure. That money is what's gonna make you guys powerful once Haikimaru gets his body back." They hit the road again until they stumbled upon a burnt-down temple with heavy oil stains covering the ground. They realized the place didn't catch fire by accident. Someone had intentionally torched it. Around the temple, bizarre, eerie monsters kept flickering in and out of existence. One of the small monsters actually approached Dororo, grabbing his clothes as if it wanted him to stay there. Just then, Sabame approached them again and said, "My name is Sabame." Haikimaru looked at his soul and saw a twisted, chaotic mix of pure white kindness and pitch-black evil. They went back to Sabame's house and Dororo asked him about the temple. Sabame sighed and told them a dark tale. That temple used to be full of orphan kids looked after by a nun. But that nun was incredibly cruel. She would secretly sell the kids off one by one for money. One day, a bolt of lightning struck the temple, burning it to ashes and killing everyone inside. But the nun's evil spirit didn't move on. She turned into a monster that devours anyone who gets close to the ruins. Night fell, and though Haikimaru and Dororo lay down to sleep, they didn't buy Sabame's story for a second. Suddenly, a massive, grotesque caterpillar monster tore through the room. Haikimaru leaped up, attacking it and slicing it to ribbons. But before he could finish it off, a massive moth demon fluttered in, grabbed the wounded caterpillar, and flew away. The moth demon looked back at Sabame and hissed, "We can't eat this kid yet. He's way too strong." The next morning, Dororo decided to investigate the village on his own. He sat down with an old woman and asked about the burnt temple, but she completely shut down and walked away, while the rest of the villagers started staring at him with creepy, hostile eyes. Dororo kept searching until he found an abandoned warehouse. He walked inside, and suddenly a group of villagers ambushed him, threw him down into a dark basement, and locked the hatch from the outside. At the exact same time, Haikimaru was tracking Sabame. Sabame turned around, looked at him, and said, "I know you're here to slaughter the demons, but I am the ruler of this village, and I will protect my people and the demons that keep us alive. Years ago, our village was completely destitute and ruined until a demon showed up and I cut a deal with it. Ever since, our village has been wealthy and thriving. That demon is the moth spirit you saw last night." Haikimaru glared at him and coldly replied, "I don't give a damn about any of that. I'm going to slaughter that demon." Right on cue, the moth demon materialized, and a brutal battle kicked off between it and Haikimaru. The fight was savage, and the demon managed to smash Haikimaru's left prosthetic arm, shattering it completely before fleeing into the sky. Meanwhile, down in the pitch-black basement, Dororo was trapped, and the small, flickering monsters from the temple suddenly appeared around him. They chased him through the dark until he tripped and fell. But right then, the small monster that had grabbed his clothes at the temple manifested clearly, and the ghosts of the orphan kids who had died in the fire appeared alongside it. They looked at Dororo and revealed the horrific truth. Sabame and the villagers are lying. The nun was incredibly kind and loved us. The villagers are the ones who murdered her, and then they locked us inside the temple, set it on fire, and fed our bodies to the moth demon to seal their twisted pact. So after looking around, Dororo found out the whole story. The ghosts broke Haikimaru out of the tomb he was stuck in. When Haikimaru woke up, the demon lord had already started burning down the entire village, right after Haikimaru wounded him and made him look like a total demon. He did that because the people of Sukuroku's village didn't back Haikimaru up against the demon lord. Dororo told Haikimaru, "Look, I know this demon hangs out by the river." So Haikimaru rushed over, jumped him, set him on fire, and completely took him out. After that, Haikimaru got his regular skin back. He kept going with Dororo, who told him, "Man, this whole village got burned to the ground because of us. If we hadn't shown up, that demon wouldn't have torched the place." Haikimaru was just like, "I don't give a damn about that," and kept walking. But Dororo didn't follow him, so they split up. Haikimaru went off looking for him. Meanwhile, Itachi, who was being chased by Daigo's men, was with his crew. He told Dororo, "Look, I've got half the map your dad drew. Where's the other half?" He checked Dororo's back, but the map didn't show up. Itachi didn't realize that for the map to show, Dororo's body had to be warm and it had to be nighttime. Itachi said, "Look, I knew your dad was hoarding cash and hiding it. That's why when your mom passed away, I dug up her grave and took the first half of the map from her. Now we just need the second half." The next day and the day after that, they took Dororo to head to the place on the first half of the map, which was called Cape Sakyo. Before getting there, they passed by a village where every single person had been slaughtered. To get to Cape Sakyo, they needed to cross the sea by boat. Suddenly, this guy with a missing arm named Shuren showed up. He told them, "Hey, I've got 2 boats." He took them out in the boats to cross, but it turned out 2 sharks were pulling them. Shuren told them, "These 2 sharks are named Jiromaru and Sabiramaru. I treat them like family. I even let them eat my arm. The more they eat, the bigger they get. That's why I let them eat everyone in that village, and now I'm gonna let them eat you guys too." Right then, Jiromaru and Sabiramaru started ripping Itachi's men apart, completely wrecking one of the boats. Jiromaru took off, but Sabiramaru stayed behind to watch the second boat, the one Itachi and Dororo were on, so he could eat them later. As they were sitting there, Itachi and the rest of his guys totally lost hope and gave up. Dororo got pissed at them and said, "Screw this, I'm jumping in the water. I'll draw Sabiramaru out, and when he comes up, you guys hit him with everything you've got." Dororo actually did it. He dove in, messed with Sabiramaru, and then swam to the surface. Sabiramaru chased right after him, and everyone jumped him and took him down. After that, they kept going toward Cape Sakyo. A bit later, Shuren came back with Jiromaru. Itachi and his men grabbed Shuren and started beating the crap out of him. Then Itachi stripped Dororo's back and held her close to the fire so the map would show up. It finally appeared, but that's when he discovered that Dororo was actually a girl, not a boy. She had been acting like a boy so nobody would push her around or take advantage of her, and so people would actually hire her for jobs. Once he found out she was a girl, Itachi copied the map onto a piece of paper. Meanwhile, Haikimaru crossed paths with Jukai, the doctor who had made his prosthetic limbs back in the day. Haikimaru killed a demon right there and then greeted Jukai. He caught him up on everything that had happened since he left. Haikimaru told him, "I need a new prosthetic leg to replace my left one that broke." Jukai couldn't believe everything Haikimaru had been through. He told him, "Look, man, I'm not giving you a new leg. If I do, you're just gonna keep killing demons. Your heart is gonna turn completely cold and full of hate, and your soul will turn evil. You'll end up killing humans and becoming a monster yourself." While they were arguing, the cave started collapsing, trapping them inside. Haikimaru smashed through the walls and ran outside, where a ton of monsters, just like the one he killed before, showed up. He started slaughtering them left and right and even attacked their boss. Jukai thought to himself, I helped Haikimaru back then, but now I'm terrified that I might have just created a monster. A little later, Haikimaru said goodbye to Jukai, telling him, I look at you like a mother, don't worry about me. I've got someone by my side helping me out. If I ever start going evil, they'll bring me back. Haikimaru then took off to look for Dororo. At the exact same time, back at Daigo's house, Tahemaru, who had wounded herself in front of Haikimaru, was talking to his mother. He said, we had a goddess statue here. When Haikimaru was born, its head broke off. I'm positive it broke to protect Haikimaru so he could be born with a head. And that's exactly what happened back then. Haikimaru wasn't born with limbs, but he kept his head because of that. There were 12 demons who ate Haikimaru's body, but the 12th demon couldn't touch his head because of that goddess statue. Tahemaru said, the demons are hunting Haikimaru now because that 12th and final demon couldn't take his piece of the body. Haikimaru is gonna keep killing the demons, our deal with them will be ruined, and our land will go completely dry and dead again. By this time, Tahemaru's personality had completely flipped. He became brutal and cold-blooded after losing his eye in the fight with Haikimaru. He took his men, went to a house, and found a rat-like demon there. They beat it up and captured it. He was so ruthless that he made them burn the house down with the demon and its babies still inside. When he got back, he gathered his soldiers to go hunt down Haikimaru and kill him. Meanwhile, Haikimaru tracked Dororo down and found her tied up. Shuren was there with Jiramaru, but Jiramaru had fused with Saburamaru and the other shark. His form had completely mutated, making him way stronger, and he lunged at Dororo. Suddenly, Haikimaru leaped in and blocked the attack. He yelled at Dororo, get back, that's a demon. Haikimaru started landing crazy combos on the demon, slashing him up until he brought his sword down and killed him for good. Next, they went looking for gear before grabbing the money Dororo's dad had hidden, but Itachi had already made it there and found the money hidden near a mountain. The mountain was loaded with traps. Soon after, Tahemaru and his soldiers showed up, raining arrows down on everyone to kill Haikimaru and his crew before they could get to the cache. Dororo told everyone, we gotta get the hell out of here right now before we get slaughtered. They tried to run, but Tahemaru, his men, and Mutsu and Hyogo cut them off and attacked. Haikimaru jumped straight into the fight. The ground cracked and shattered, and Haikimaru and Dororo fell through. They ran fast until they reached a place full of statues. Itachi said, the map says we have to move one of these statues to find the money. But while they were talking, Tahemaru's soldiers found them and shot Itachi again. They ducked and hid behind the statues, causing the statues to shift and collapse right on top of the soldiers, forcing them to retreat. Haikimaru climbed back up, but soldiers were shooting arrows at him from below, and they managed to hit him in the back. Hyogo rushed him with an attack, but right then, Shuren showed up where Dororo was, carrying a bunch of explosives to get his revenge. He set off the explosives, causing a massive blast. The explosion wiped out a ton of soldiers, and the rest scattered and ran for their lives. After the smoke cleared, Dororo, Itachi, and Haikimaru found themselves right where the money was. Tahemaru retreated, completely beaten. Dororo looked at Haikimaru and realized his sword was shattered from the brutal fight. So, Dororo grabbed some of the money, and she and Haikimaru walked away into the morning. So they passed by a village and got Haikimaru's sword fixed, then kept moving. Around that time, Daigo's lands started getting hit hard with disasters, plagues, and all kinds of bad stuff. Tahemaru was like, this is all because Haikimaru is out there killing the demons. We gotta track him down and take him out ASAP. Meanwhile, Haikimaru made it to a new place where the mountains were completely red because of autumn. This guy named Saburota showed up out of nowhere and told them, yo, there's a demon around here. I've been hunting this thing for 6 months because it killed my mom. Haikimaru went along with him until they reached the demon's lair and flushed it out. The demon's body was made up of a bunch of different animals. Haikimaru lunged to attack it, but suddenly Saburota turned on him. He teamed up with the demon and said, look, I couldn't beat this monster, so I started helping it instead. I bring it people to eat, and that's exactly why I brought you guys here. The demon attacked, and both Haikimaru and Dororo got knocked down. When they got up, they realized Dororo's hand was pinned under a huge rock, and water started rushing into the cave. Dororo was about to drown, and Haikimaru was frantic, trying to save her but couldn't move the rock. Out of nowhere, Jukai showed up, smashed the rock, and saved Dororo. Haikimaru left them and rushed back after the demon and Saburota. He attacked the demon, plunging his sword right into its chest and wounding it. He leaped at it again and sliced off part of its head. But the demon ended up eating Saburota, which made part of its body way stronger, and it took off into the air to attack again. A bit later, Dororo and Haikimaru managed to kill the demon for good. While Saburota was dying, he looked at Haikimaru and said, "You're not even human." Haikimaru just finished him off. But after killing that demon, Haikimaru didn't get any part of his body back. He got pissed and said, "Just like what happened before, I'm going straight to Dago's lands. I'm gonna slaughter them all there and get my body back." Dororo tried to calm him down, saying, "Man, chill out. You can't just go and kill them, they're your family." But Haikimaru didn't give a damn and kept walking. Meanwhile, Dago's lands were completely falling apart from the plagues. Dago mobilized his army to attack. He ordered them to kill anyone infected with the plague and weaponize anyone who was healthy to gear up for the war with Sakura. When he found out Haikimaru was heading his way, he sent Tahamaru, Mutsu, and Hyogo to go kill him. That night, Mutsu discovered she had caught the plague, but she kept it a secret from everyone. She started flashing back to the old days when there was a war, and how she and Hyogo had lost their parents in it until Dago took them in, raised them, and made them his personal bodyguards. The next morning, Haikimaru crossed paths with them. He slashed Mutsu's right arm and completely sliced off Hyogo's left arm. Dororo was standing there crying her eyes out because she felt Haikimaru was turning completely evil. Then Haikimaru got into a massive sword fight with Tahamaru. He kicked him down and was about to finish him off, but Mutsu and Hyogo jumped in and blocked the attack. Tahamaru got back up and swung, but Haikimaru slashed him right across the face. Suddenly, a bunch of Dago's soldiers swarmed them and used explosives, so Tahamaru and his crew retreated. Shortly after, that demonic horse Midorigo showed up. It had a dark, evil aura and it teamed up with Haikimaru, picking him up so they could go get Dororo back. But Tahamaru and his bodyguards had already grabbed Dororo and Dago's wife, Haikimaru's mom, and locked them up. Dago's wife was locked away by herself for a while, but she managed to escape and Dago went after her. Meanwhile, Tahamaru went down to the Hell Hall to make a deal with the 12th demon, the final one that hadn't been able to take any part of Haikimaru's body before. Tahamaru said, "Take my body, just protect our lands." Dago had found out before that the demon wouldn't make a deal unless it was with someone from Dago's bloodline. The demon accepted the deal and gave Tahamaru Haikimaru's eyes. By this time, everyone was gearing up for war. Dago's wife took advantage of the chaos, went and freed Dororo and smuggled her out through a secret tunnel. She told Dororo, "Thank you so much for sticking by my son Haikimaru on his journey. I really need to see him." The two of them grabbed a boat and took off down the river, but the current was crazy rough because of the heavy rain. They capsized, but some villagers nearby rescued them and brought them to their village. There, Dororo found Biwamaru helping out the sick villagers and those affected by the war. At the exact same time, Haikimaru and the demonic horse were tearing through Dago's soldiers, slaughtering them left and right. Dororo, Biwamaru, and the mother realized Haikimaru was fighting Dago's men and rushed over to find him. After Haikimaru wiped out all the soldiers, Tahamaru showed up with Mutsu and Hyogo. Thanks to the demon's power, Tahamaru now had Haikimaru's eyes, and the demon had given Mutsu and Hyogo Haikimaru's real arms to replace the ones that got chopped off. They were all loaded with demonic power. Haikimaru lost it and screamed, "That's in my body, I'm taking it back." He started fighting the three of them all at once. While they were clashing, Mutsu and Hyogo fought off the demonic horse. Dororo and Biwamaru arrived, running up behind them. Biwamaru yelled at Dororo, "Dororo, stay out of this fight. All four of them have demon power inside them right now." The battle kept raging. The horse tackled Hyogo, and Mutsu and Hyogo managed to strike and wound the horse, but the horse bit Hyogo's head right off. Mutsu went crazy with grief, but the horse trampled her too, killing them both. Tahamaru saw his bodyguards die and went completely berserk. He and Haikimaru kept clashing, and Haikimaru slashed his face again. Suddenly, Tahamaru broke away and ran back to Dago's castle to wait for Haikimaru there. At that moment, Dago was standing with his troops, waiting for the Asakura army to strike. Haikimaru reached the castle where Tahamaru was, and they went at it again. The castle started catching fire. As they fought, Tahamaru mocked him, saying, "You can't fight for real in here. The space is too tight and your arms are too long now that you got them back." Haikimaru just said, "I have to kill you and take my eyes back. That's the last piece of my body." Dororo saw the castle burning from a distance and sprinted toward it, saying, "I can't let Haikimaru turn into a total demon. I have to stop him." Dago's wife and Jukai were also rushing toward the castle, and Dago coincidentally ended up at the same spot. Inside the burning castle, Tahamaru was screaming at Haikimaru, "This is my place, not yours. You stripped everything away from me. Even my mother was thinking about you the whole damn time." Tahamaru tackled Haikimaru, crashing through the floor. When they got up, Haikimaru slashed him across the face again. Dago's wife and Dororo reached the castle. The mother told Dororo, "You stay outside, I'm going in there." She rushed inside and found Jukai already there. Inside the raging flames, Haikimaru was moving faster and faster. He pinned Tahimaru against a pillar and raised his sword, about to chop his head off. But at the very last second, he stopped himself. Tahimaru gasped, "Why did you stop?" Haikimaru replied, "I don't know, but I stopped because you're just like me." Tahimaru realized he had lost. He said, "I give up. Here, take your eyes back." He actually pulled the eyes out and handed them over. Right then, the 12th demon showed up to stop them, but Haikimaru had just gotten his sight back. Now that he could finally see, his mother ran up and hugged him. Jukai yelled at them to get the hell out of the fire quickly. The mother went to check on Tahimaru, but the flames suddenly roared and trapped them. Jukai, Tahimaru, and the mother couldn't make it out of the fire and died in the collapse. Finally, Haikimaru walked out of the burning ruins, right into the arms of Dororo and Baiwamaru. So the castle was burning down to ashes, along with most of Daigo's lands. After Daigo lost almost everything, the night took a turn for the worse. He lost a massive chunk of his soldiers in the brutal battle against the Asakura army. The next morning, Daigo dragged himself over to the Hell Hall after Haikimaru had already slaughtered all 12 demons in there and completely won his body back. Daigo was totally desperate and screaming, "I'll make another deal with the demons. I'm not throwing in the towel now." Right then, Haikimaru stepped out of the shadows, looking completely human. Daigo was terrified and thought Haikimaru was going to slice him to pieces to get his revenge. He stood there waiting for the final blow, but Haikimaru looked at him and said, "I'm not gonna kill you, and I'm not making any more deals. I've decided to live my life as a human being, not a monster. And you should try living like a human for once too." He just left Daigo there, broken and crying his eyes out, finally realizing what a horrible father he had been. Outside, Dororo was waiting for Haikimaru. She decided she wasn't gonna let her dad's hidden treasure go to waste. Instead of using that cash to fund more stupid wars, she decided to invest it all into rebuilding the villages and helping the people get back on their feet. Haikimaru decided to go on a journey to find himself and learn how to live as a real human. Years passed, and Dororo grew up into a beautiful, strong young woman, successfully running the thriving land they rebuilt. In the final scene, as she's running across a beautiful golden field, she looks up and sees Haikimaru standing there, waiting for her with a huge smile on his face, finally reunited. And that is a wrap. That's the whole story, completely unfiltered. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit that smash like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more awesome content.